The harsh truth is that there's some guys out here that are completely invisible to women, and you can take it a step further and really say society as a whole. Now, these guys are in abundance. There is plenty of them. And of course, we've had these type of guys throughout ages. Throughout history, we've had guys that were quote unquote invisible, that didn't really do well with women, and not all the time, but it's kind of hand in hand that they don't do well in society. Now, I know someone heard this and is like, damn, that's a pretty bold statement, or that's a pretty outrageous statement to make. But if you really look at it, not in all cases, not in every single case, but in a lot of times, these guys don't really do well in society, period. And I'm going to get into it. This is Terry Talks. You guys could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with me. These guys have existed throughout time, okay? There's guys out there from the past, and from the present, obviously, and the future, and the unforeseeable future, that never passed their genetics on. Their bloodline literally ended with them, right? Literally ended with that guy, because he never passed it on. He was never found sexually attractive by women, okay? And in the past, like I said, this has been going on since forever, right? But it was probably not as bad as it is now. Now it's a completely disproportionate amount, okay? You could kind of argue that, hey, look, maybe in times where the warrior type of archetype of man, when that was around, like ancient Greek times or ancient Egypt and the Viking, all of those ancient warrior type of societies, maybe mating criteria was probably even worse. Okay, like if you weren't a warrior that chopped your enemy's head off, you weren't getting no kitty, right? Anyway, that's besides the point, because I don't really know. I'm not a historian, obviously, okay? But we can all agree that nowadays, in this very technocratic, very isolated, very atomized type of society that we live in, where a lot of guys are lonely as shit, we can all agree that the amount of men that are invisible to women is probably blown out of proportion compared to times in the past. Okay, times in the past, because women now, they don't have to participate in the whole marriage and the whole family type of thing. As a matter of fact, especially depending on what political views they have, if they're more on that liberal type of stuff, they probably view having kids as undesirable. They probably view marriage as some sort of oppressive institution set up by the white man or some bullshit like that, right? So, you got that in account. And that's, to be honest with you, that's probably the most prevalent type of political view, is what I just said. As a whole, having kids in a family is bad in some sort of way. It's oppressive and all that good stuff. So what ends up happening is that, hey, chicks are they're more pleasure based, okay? They're more pleasure based. They're more hedonistic in nature. So what does that mean? Now that means, hey, look, the chick is going to go for the guy that she thinks is hot. Straight up. She's going to go for the guy that she thinks is hot. And this has nothing to do with building families. This has really nothing to do with intellect, because if you look at all of these guys that are jailbirds, or on a lower socioeconomic scale, or guys that are just not very industrious. They don't really contribute much to society. They got a shit ton of kids. Okay, so that's just one small example. I'm not gonna get too further into that because I don't have time, but I'm just giving you guys one small example. Now, a lot of guys out here are kind of left to dry, so to speak. There is really no community. There's really no community. Everything is very isolated. Everything is very separated. The average person's life is, hey, go to school, go to college, and then that's it. A lot of guys don't even have any friends. You know, there's really a crisis on friendships as well. I'm not talking about male and female. I'm just talking about friendships in general. People just don't have friends anymore. People are separated. And a lot of these guys, whether it be physical reasons or social reasons, a lot of these guys are socially inept. They have no social skills, right? They're socially awkward. They don't know how to talk to women, much less people in general. And this is why I said in the beginning that not all the time, but if they're not good with women, that's pretty much that could be an indication that they are not calibrated to society as a whole. Now, someone could argue with me on that, and that's fine. This is up for debate. What I'm saying is not some kind of scientific, it's just what I feel like, right? But a lot of these guys just don't have any kind of connection, and when they do try to interact with women, women just don't want to deal with them. Whether it's social awkwardness, this is a huge aspect. It's social awkwardness. Now, I mentioned physicality earlier, but that social awkwardness is crippling. A lot of guys don't even know how to have simple conversations with women, and unfortunately, some of them come off as quote unquote, and this is kind of harsh and this is fucked up, and I don't agree with this, but they come off as what is harshly called creepy. They come off as like creepy or whatever, when in all reality, they're not creepy. They just don't have any social skills. There's a lot of these guys, and what do? They revert to playing video games. No offense to my guys that play video games, but let's just be completely transparent and completely honest. A lot of these type of guys indulge in video game escapism. And now that we have AI on the rise, this AI, I'm telling you guys, this AI is going to get more and more advanced. And a lot of these type of guys are just going to completely check out of reality, because in reality, they're invisible. Nobody wants to talk to them. Women don't want to talk to them. And it's very hard for them to keep some kind of relationship going, right? If they start talking to a chick, they start noticing the girl is uncomfortable, or they start noticing the chick kind of starts wanting to end the conversation, or shit just gets weird, or they just have, you know, failing after failing of attempted relationships, or not even I shouldn't even say relationships if they even get that far. They don't even go past the hi, how are you stage before they get shot down. And a lot of these guys live a life of loneliness, and with the upcoming AI, as I was saying, they're gonna just dive right into this. You could call it Matrix. I don't know what you could call it. If you guys have seen that movie Ready Player One, you guys know what I'm talking about, where people are like, rather be in this alternate universe, alternate technological virtual universe. A lot of these guys are going to start retiring to that. And if you look at the statistics of the amount of men who don't have children, it's alarming. A lot of guys are not having children. Okay. Now, don't get it twisted. Guys still are having children, but a lot of them are being excluded. A lot of guys are being excluded. And if you kind of look at it, you'll notice that women are having kids by the same fucking guys. This has been talked about over and over again. Like it'll be one guy with 3 different baby mamas or something like that, right? It's like the females are sharing from the same pool of guys. And for a lot of guys, they're getting left out and excluded. And, you know, don't get me started on how social media and dating apps and all of this bull crap is creating all of this attention seeking and validation seeking from these chicks, where they pretty much use guys online just to get attention and just to get validation. So what ends up happening is a lot of these guys are talking to chicks that are just using them for attention, okay? That are just using them for attention. The guy talks to her. She ghosts him when he asks her to go out, and he's back to being lonely. This happens a crap ton. And there has been plenty of videos made about ghosting and how bad that is. So these guys are just like lonely as hell. They don't really go to clubs like that. And if they do go to clubs, they're going to get turned down so bad, because all clubs are a living representation of dating apps and social media. Clubs are a literal physical representation of dating apps and social media. And a lot of those chicks in there are ugly. Like, let me not mince words. They're out of shape, don't even look that great. Now, don't get it twisted. It's some baddies in the club, but a lot of these chicks that are big and unattractive go to clubs for validation because it's dark and everybody is drunk. And, you know, guys go there and get turned down by these types of chicks, right? And no one really cares about men. Let's just be honest. Men, we're expected to pull ourselves up from the bootstrap and carry on and do what we need to do. So a lot of these guys are in deep depressions. They're in deep depressions. And, you know, if you go online, a lot of them can't wait for this AI takeover, right? A lot of them can't wait to just be fully submersed in an artificial reality, because no one sees them. They're literally invisible. And this causes deep depression. And it's really not good for society either. It really is not. These guys are not getting married. They're not building families. They're not building futures. It's just you have this lonely guy that grows up lonely and then he dies. There was nothing contributed there, right? So anyway, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace.